Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face, my card making space, and a fun card using some newer plus oldie but goodies from AlteNew. I started with this Japanese anemone, build a flower, craft a flower, wafer die set. This is part of their newest release. And I made a bunch of flowers, did a bunch of ink blending, and then I pulled out some sentiments, press plates. I did hot foiling and splattering and better pressing. I was having fun. So, as always, I will have links to all the things I used in the description box below the video. All of my links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It's what helps pay the bills and fund the channel. And I'll also have a link to my blog post, social media, etc., etc. Any info, always in the description box below. And then just keep watching and I'll show you guys how I made this card. So I'm pretty sure this is actually the first video and first time using any of the AlteNew Craft a Flower die sets. I have a couple other sets of theirs that I've purchased and I've had a lot of requests for me to do videos on them. My thing is they just, again, I need more time. I need more time. Anyway, the thing that I immediately noticed was how they had the die shapes clustered. Like each wafer die was all the pieces, or like all the petals, I guess, for each bloom. And then all the centers were one die and things like that. So I was like, oh, well, that was convenient, you know, keeping everything together. And then the other big thing with these die sets from AlteNew is their keyhole system, which this is my first time using it, but I was aware of how it worked from other like content makers videos. And it's interesting. It's interesting. They've got little like shapes because they're not all specifically a keyhole. It's especially one like this where there's different blooms. There's different shapes that are cut into basically the centers, for lack of a better word. And then they even have numbers, which I'll show in a second here. They even have numbers like pressed in so you know how to layer them and stuff. And then there is also a layering guide, which that I will also show when I go to assemble these. So I die cut all my pieces just using Simon Says Stamp smooth white cardstock. And I didn't use all the wafer dies in the set. I left off the stems, and there's like stems and little like buds and whatnot. I left those off. I just went with the like large florals. Again, are we surprised? And the leaves. And yeah, die cut them all from smooth white cardstock because I did ink blending on all of these, which is just fun. So I've got my AlteNew Ultra Sticky Grid Mat here on my work surface. And then I'm using just a variety of their fresh dye inks. And for the leaves, I used Firefly, Grassfield, and Shadow Creek, which is working from like lightest to darkest. And you can't tell in a video, but I'm using a very light hand. I'm using the AlteNew mini blending brushes, which those also I've been using quite a lot in the last couple months or so. And I'm really liking them. And yeah, just a light hand and just kind of building up the color from like the centers out. And I do the same thing with the florals. And I just chose different little sets of florals at random to add colors to. I added it in the intro because I forgot to mention when I was filming the intro that this is for this week's color throwdown challenge, which is why I chose the colors that I did. So for my yellows, and also I, actually was paying attention for once after the fact and looked up and realized I could zoom in a bit so you guys could actually see what I was doing. So for the yellows, I used mid yellow, started with that, and then I went in with Lemonade Stand. And again, just a lighter hand, something I probably will forever have to kind of be conscious of and work on because I'm very heavy handed with everything. It's very difficult for me to leave white space or, just soft. It's like, no, full force, rawr. Anyway, I would just lay out the pieces and ink blend. And then between the sets of colors, I'm just wiping off my grip mat. I just have baby wipes with the grip mats. Whether they're the AlteNew ones, any of the other brands, these are high quality photopolymer. You want to either just wipe them off with, water. A simple baby wipe. Stamp cleaner is fine because if it's safe for photopolymer stamps, it's safe for these mats. Do not use abrasive cleaners. Do not use alcohol. You will wreck these mats. If they get really gunked up, you can rinse them under the sink. Let them air dry. Do not leave them soaking in water either. Just trying to get these PSAs out because I've had people have issues with their mats, and it's usually because they were using like alcohol and alcohol cleaners, and it wrecks them. So yeah. So for the orange florals, I used Peachy Keen and then Tangerine Dream. And the little ink pad holder here is from the ink stand. I'll have, like always, I'll have links to all the things in the description box below the video. But yeah, it holds my little ink pad in place so it's not moving around when I'm swirling my brush in it. And you don't necessarily need to layer like the colors together with these florals for the most part, but I was just having fun, like experimenting. I was like, I wonder what it would look like. And these inks do soften, kind of, smooth out, soften, dry back. So they will look a little bit different than they do when you first apply them. So that's always something to keep in mind. And then this ink, this is Tickled Pink. I love it. I love it. Just be aware. And it doesn't matter what brand, any really intense pink like this, it's going to stain everything. It's going to stain your grip mats. It's going to stain your stamps. It's going to just stain everything. It is just the nature of an ink like this, because that's the trade-off because it's just pinks, reds, purples, because a lot of times they have like pinks in them. It just stains. And I don't care. Like eventually my grip mats are going to be just pretty much pure pink, and that's fine because that's just the one that stains everything. Anyway, that Tickled Pink color is lovely. So I toned it down though, I know, but because it was a color throwdown challenge and I was going for more of like sort of a fuchsia color. So I layered that Tickled Pink with Purple Wine, and that, yeah, I like it. I really like how that turned out. So I need to do that more often too. Just, experimenting more with just layering colors. It's fun. So then for the flower centers, there's these larger kind of chunky bits. It all makes sense once you put it all together. For these, I use the caramel toffee, and then I'll go in with paper bag. And then for the itty bitty little centers, which I stuck to my mat there, I used the 2 lighter shades of green ink, so Firefly and Grassfield. And wasn't too worried about getting, a perfect blend, because again, like I said, these inks do just smooth out, dry back. They look fabulous. So after I was done all of my ink blending on all of these pieces, it's time to assemble the florals. And yeah, on the back of the packaging, layering guide for everything, because with this set specifically, there's 4 different flowers, and each flower has a different shaped keyhole, just like so, and then it'll have a number that is debossed into the cardstock, as well as the, detail lines, things like that. So you just pair up the pieces that have the same keyhole shape, and then you follow the numbers. But I say that also, it doesn't matter if you, like, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, I don't think it really matters if you layer, them in a different order, but it's just nice to have that all thought out. I've talked about that before with a lot of these crafty brands. I love that they do this. I was like, I love that somebody else goes to, I can't even imagine the amount of work to do, even just to design these types of wafer dies, just all of it. I'm like, I love it. I love that somebody else sat and figured all of this out so that I can just sit and make it look pretty. So thank you. Anyway, layering it all up and everything just fits. You follow the little guide, and it's another one of those things that after you do one, it, starts to make sense. And then I was still referring to the guide though, with the first of each of these flowers. Cause I was like, okay, what's the next step? Like, which little piece goes next? It's like, okay, it's this funny little, centerpiece, but same thing. It's got the same little shape cut out of it. And then the next piece and the next piece, and there I've got another flower. So yeah, it takes a second at the very beginning, and then once you put it together once, it's like, oh, it just makes sense. I love it. So I got my second little floral. This also helps to have again, I can't say it enough, you guys. Reverse tweezers are your friend. Love them. I don't use them just for, twine and ribbon. I use them for holding little bitty pieces and stuff too. So I just put, a little bit of glue, kept layering, would use the reverse tweezers for the little tiny pieces like that. And then would stick on either the larger chunky center, I don't know what you're supposed to call this, and then the final little center, and there's floral number 3. And then the 4th one, I didn't have it in pink because I did, just random shapes, random colors. And this one had a triangle shape. So they have different little shapes that line up. So I like that. I like that. Especially when you have a pile of die cuts, because, I die cut everything twice just cause. So it just worked. So once I got my florals adhered, I did all the same thing with the second set. And then press plates, specifically better press plates. This is the Classical Greetings press plate set. I purchased this, I forget, a while ago. If you're not into better press plates, I just showed on screen there is a stamp set that is the exact same. The stamp set also has some little sub-sentiments, which is great. And I'm actually going to use the stamp set later too. So you can skip the press plates if that's not your thing. I've been telling everyone I'm working more at using some of these things. Using this better press system that I purchased along with, the collection of plates that I've purchased over the last year or however long it's been. And so we're working towards it. So I pulled out this sentiment and inked it up with Wild Berry better press ink. And I still had adhesive on the clear plate. That's either the Chase or the Platen. There's names for it. I showed this in a recent live and I don't remember all the names with the better press, but I still had some residual adhesive and I just put white cardstock. So for the sentiment, you don't really fully see the beauty that is a press plate, but it's still fun. And then while I was at it, I pulled out another press plate. This one's newer. This is the Gilded marble press plate. But instead of using it in the better press, I'm going to hot foil it because you can hot foil with better press plates. And they hot foil like a dream. For serious. I love it. It's another reason why I need to pull these things out and use them more because they're all sitting here, just waiting. So I have my Glimmer hot foil system there on the right. It's turned on. And then I'm using Opal Glimmer foil from Spellbinders. This foil is tricksy. I've shown this in other videos. It is a lot harder to tell which is the right side. You saw me cut it there, and the portion that's facing outwards on the roll is the pretty side. So after I cut it, I immediately flipped it over so the pretty side of the foil is facing the plate. Hopefully that makes sense. Because with all the other foils, it's generally pretty obvious because they're, metallic and the ugly side is gray, that sort of a thing. So I had, heated up the Glimmer hot foil system, put the plate on with the design face up, the foil with the pretty side of the foil facing the plate, and then just smooth white cardstock, press the timer, let it go until it went solid, took this out, and then ran it through my Platinum 6 machine. And then I peel off the foil. And it's just glorious. So with this one, just because of the way the design is, there's some excess foil. It's not pressed into the cardstock. I just rub it with my fingers. You can also use just a soft brush, and that just removes the extra bits. And then I've got that. And I love it. And there is debossing type detail, like letterpress detail just from the plate as well. That also happens with just hot foil plates, regardless of which one you use. But I did the background like this because I didn't want it to fully compete, with all the florals and everything else I have going on. But it still gives a little bit of a rainbow shimmer when it's tilted in the light. Love it. That's why I love the opal foil. It's just, you got to be paying attention when you're using it, which a lot of times for me, I'm not. I've foiled many plates, especially with that foil, because once it's cut, if you're not paying attention, you forget what side is which. And I've done that so many times and I'm like, I guess we'll see. And yeah, the cardstock doesn't end up being foiled. The plate does. Doesn't hurt it. Still works. Everything's good. So off camera, I'd kind of figured out my cluster of florals, and then I've just sped this up quite a bit in editing as I fiddled and adhered everything into place. I'm getting more comfortable with it. I've talked about this. Floral arrangements are not my forte. There's some people that have such a good eye for it, just the way they'll arrange florals, either in real life, you know, cut floral arrangements, or on paper. Either one it takes skill, but I'm getting there. I'm getting at least more comfortable with it, and not so frustrated, I guess. So I've, you know, got everything adhered, tucked in the little leaves here and there amongst the arrangement, and then decided to add some splatter because it just needed it. It's just what I do. So I'm using my monster tube of AlteNew's white gouache, and just put a little bit of that on a palette. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this to water it down so that I can get a good splatterable consistency. And then my little fan brush, mix all that together. And then I'm going to splatter this. And obviously keeping it more concentrated just on the florals, because you cannot see it at all on the background because it's white on white. So splatter that over the florals to add that little bit of texture that I love. And then I just got to let that dry, which dries very quickly. And then on the inside of the card, I'm going to use the Classic Greetings stamp set. So you can, like I said, you don't have to get the press plates for this. The stamp set, they are the same size, which is nice because the coordinating die set for the stamp set also works for the press plates. So I just stamped one of the sentiments with the purple wine ink on the inside of the card. And then I adhered a couple of the remaining florals, which again, this could be a nice, clean and simple card front. Because like I always say, I don't really do clean and simple, but I do clean and simple on the insides of my cards. Go figure, go figure, whatever. So in a sense, it's kind of 2 for 1, but I always like to have something on the inside of my cards. So I adhered the florals, a couple of the leaves, and then adhered the background to my card front. And then I flipped this over and trimmed off the bits that were hanging over. You could always leave it if it bothers you to cut them off and just use a larger envelope, or you hand deliver the card, straight to the person without an envelope, whatever floats your boat. I don't mind cutting things off. Your eye just naturally finishes it anyway. And once everything was trimmed off, I'm going to stick the press plate sentiment into place. Stuck a couple little foam squares in between the blooms there just to even everything out so that I could adhere this into place and it's not going to smush down or anything. And then as a final little bit of embellishment, I have these golden sunset enamel dots, and I'm just going to peel off a few of the yellow ones and just kind of tuck them around these florals. And then once I'm kind of happy with where I've stuck them, this card is complete. So like I mentioned a couple times, this was for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge. So I'll have that linked in the blog post that's linked directly below the video. And then, of course, I'll have a supply list. I'll link to all the supplies I used. So if you just expand the description box below the video, all of that info will be there for anyone who's interested. And then if you pop on over to my blog post, it's picture links, photos of the cards, etc., a little easier to navigate. So that'll be linked below as well, along with like my social medias, all the things. And then, yeah, as always, thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping and commenting, letting those robot overlords know you guys like what you see. It really helps and I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.